lawyer's office. This is supposed to be our mediation. I can't really afford to go to trial unless I represent myself. I have 6 kids all the time, so representing myself and learning codes and even thinking about doing that seems completely like crazy and overwhelming to even consider. This is definitely bad to keep the camera angle, but I don't have anywhere else to put the camera right now. I'm driving home. You know, I have been married to somebody who is so, it's funny, he's so passive and he's so, really, he's like a 2-year-old in a lot of levels, doesn't know how to make decisions, isn't anywhere near as smart as me, and I don't mean like academically necessarily. I don't feel like my smartness showed itself in school too much, but so my life was shit, but you know, there's a power dynamic, there's a power differential, very much, and financially, he's been able to save over $10,000 working, living with his mother, and just seeing the kids a couple days every 2 weeks. I, on the other hand, am stuck with all of the burden of, you know, laundry, meals, constantly with, you know, this little tiny, it feels like a day and a half break because by the time I drive and all of that, and it's like, I'm exhausted. I've done a lot of healing, a lot of work with myself, but I'm exhausted. Part of me is ready for a break to the extent that I have even considered letting him have custody. My older children have been violent to me lately. But I have considered letting him have the older kids. I wanted 2 years to be able to get on my feet financially. I'm being denied that. I'm being told, no, he'll just take all of the kids and keep them. And if I want them, you know, I would have to take them back to court. Me even being able to hire a lawyer at all, which maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have just, I don't know, because we really couldn't afford it. It was only for the tax credit a number of years ago, and me taking all $10,000 and hiring a lawyer, putting down $5,000 for contested divorce, which hindsight, the lawyer wanted to make as much money as she could off of me, and doing contested divorce, unless you are very well off, you can keep going with that, keep fighting it, no matter how long it takes. It's really for someone like myself. And, you know, I don't feel like we're in poverty, but we are living on a poverty level, but, you know, I'm pretty frugal and, you know, I don't feel like we have really felt the effects of poverty. Like, we're not hurting for anything. Thrift stores and stuff are pretty nice nowadays, unfortunately, you know, it used to always be like that, but that doesn't matter. That kind of stuff doesn't really matter. What matters is if my kids, you know, they've been violent to me, punching me, choking me, throwing blocks and breaking huge picture, you know, the glass of huge picture frames above the sofa, putting holes in the wall on purpose, punching out doors, punching out bedroom windows, like really horrific, crazy, and they're mimicking their dad's behavior. No one cares about that. I mean, this judge today, he's a retired judge, but the mediation judge, like, no one cares about that. It's just like, there's such a power dynamic. It's crazy. And it's like, I'm just supposed to walk away with very little, like maybe $500 a month in alimony, and 30% of his retirement pay, which isn't going to be very much after taxes at all. After 27 years of giving everything, of him not even working for the last 12 years that we were, before I filed for divorce, you know, him sitting on his tush, because he's a very lazy person, and me working my ass off with a homemade soap business, which was just bringing in chump change, making all the meals from scratch. My 25-year-old daughter, back, you know, she was younger then, but her and I are the workhorses who've done all the meals, all the laundry, all the everything, carrying the workload, me pumping out the babies, you know, 11 kids, 2 have died, you know, 18 months apart pretty much for the last decade or more, you know, just like this endless, crazy, the mindset of believing in submission, just basically being a doormat. But boy, that's so not who I really am, you know, like I am so fucking strong, and I was so suppressed and so pushed down as a Christian because I was trying to win the spouse to Christ and just all of it. And it's like the fruit is so fucking rotten. And I really thought I was going to be able to keep my composure and not be upset today. And I was walking in there hoping to be able to get on my feet financially and let him have custody of the older 4, and then us have joint custody of the younger two until 2 years, and then me, without having to go back to court, without me having to spend another, whatever, how many thousands of dollars just to even retain a lawyer again, which I might not have. And it's like, no, he wants me to prove, that I would even be fit. And it's like, somehow my fitness as a parent is in question when I'm way more stable than him. And, he can't really afford to refinance the house to buy me out, but I don't want the kids and him to be homeless, so I'm willing to give more time instead of it being a 90 days, which is very regular, 90 days within the divorce for him to buy me out, which means I would have like quite a lot of money to be able to, maybe pay for some kind of schooling or, something, and maybe even try to retrieve a couple of my kids. But no, instead, I'm willing to extend that out for a couple of years at least, so that he can, because he hasn't worked very long in 12 years, 14 years. He didn't work for the last 12 years that we were together, and then we've been separated for 2 years, and he's only been working about a year. And so he might not qualify to refinance or whatever it's called to be able to buy me out. And it's like my older kids don't see what's happening. No one really sees. My lawyer, I know lawyers are called snakes. It's like my lawyer, she's nice enough and all. It's not that she's not cordial, but it's like I don't even really feel like my lawyer has my best interest in mind. I feel like my lawyer, she's benefited today financially. It's I don't know how much it's going to end up costing, but it's probably costing me. Wow, it's probably costing me $3,000 today. With her hourly rate is and how many hours we've been there, it might even be more than that. And it's like I can't afford to keep going. And being financially dependent and being a stay-at-home mom and just being screwed over for trying to do right. My belief system, I don't agree with the belief system I had of submission and all that. It's like to stay in a marriage for 27 years and to do everything for other people and to be completely screwed over. It's like, this is the things I get. But I already had learned, like, this is not love. We did not have love. It was trauma bonding. We both come from crap childhood. It's like whether I live in a domestic abuse shelter or whether I live with my mother, either way, it is truly considered being homeless. I do not have enough money to, rent a room even. And I would stay in the house with the 6 kids, which was my plan, but the older 3 have become so violent lately that doesn't seem feasible. And they're telling me they're going to do anything they can to get their dad in the house and for me to go away. And it's like, if I leave my little kids and I do what almost seems like I have to do, he's just going to poison the younger kids more and more and more against me. And it's like, this is how insidious domestic abuse is. This is, that's not good. That's not a good thing. Okay, I'm just going to leave it. But, it's like, nobody understands. I don't feel like, in the domestic abuse shelter, they told me they couldn't help me because I didn't have enough of a paper trail. I called the police only a couple times in 20-some years of any incidences, and it's just like heartbreaking. It's like justice. And I was thinking this morning as I was contemplating, and I've been really having a lot of peace about even like him having all the kids, and I thought I would get at least a little too in a couple of years, but he's not willing. And somehow it's like he has more power than me. I don't know why. We're both paying our lawyers like up the ass. $400+ an hour. I don't know why there's this power dynamic, but there is. And even the male judge, the retired judge, the male judge. I don't know, but there is definitely a power dynamic, and it's like, what is this? Why? You give birth to all these kids, you stay home, you do everything for everybody. He plays video games and has a porn addiction, and you're faithful to an unfaithful person, and in the end, you get screwed. In the end, he doesn't come to Christ and treat you like the queen that you are. No, instead, your queenness gets buried beneath work of endless taking care of everyone else and never taking care of yourself. And now I've been taking care of myself in the last couple of years, and my mindset and my body and everything, I'm like way healthier. But still, here we are with this financial and power dynamic that is so unfair. And I'm just like screwed. And And it's like, can I have a good attitude? Yes, I can. I will have more free time. I will get a job and I will meet people and be around other adults instead of always kind of like just being around all these kids. But it's like at the cost of most likely not wanting to speak bad things into existence. Most likely my just turned 5-year-old and my 7-year-old and my just turned 9-year-old being more and more turned away from me and poisoned against me. If I'm not there at a day-to-day level, and the things that will be said by even strangers, like, oh, where's their mom? Oh, and just, oh, what kind of mother? And it's like, this isn't what I want. But if the domestic abuse shelter says I don't have enough, like, evidence, like substantial evidence, it's more just my word and my journal entries, and they can't take, the lawyer that works for them can't take, which would be free legal help, the lawyer can't take on my case, and then the lawyer that I'm paying up the ass is kind of just looking at me like, well, you know, the government doesn't really, the state doesn't really realize what it takes to raise, you know, how much it takes to raise kids, you know, and it's like, just take the wrong, take being screwed, and hope that I can somehow in the future be vindicated, somehow that there is, whether it's karma, whether karma is the same as God or spirit, or something bigger at play, whether I got married and who I got married to would have enough money to help me to go back through the legal system and try at least to retrieve at least my younger couple of kids. And it's like, what the fuck? You know, what is this? Why? And it's like, it's so painful. I feel like I am mad, but I feel like I have a lot of peace considering all that it is and all that it's led. This is the, you know, I'm going to say end result of such a long, almost 3 decades of being completely committed to somebody who was so unfaithful. And this is the fruit, and it sucks. And how old will my kids be? You know, my 25-year-old is my oldest, right? Like, how old will she be when and if she ever sees things for what they are? She's part of a cult. She's fully indoctrinated in the crazy mindset that I had for so long. Another one of my adult children as well. And the other adult child doesn't really want anything to do with God or anything like that, which is understandable. But he still thinks that I'm wrong because he's still very much like a chauvinist, a male chauvinist kind of mindset. And so it's like everyone, at least like in my family and stuff, is like, blames me, thinks that I'm breaking, as their dad tells them that, I'm sorry, I wish I could be here at the house with you, but, you know, mommy doesn't want me to, and, you know, I love mommy, and I want to come back home, and all this stuff. And it's like, but the fruit is there to see that this person does not love me. This person wants me to walk away with no money, no children, and knows how hard, most likely, it will be to come back around, even in 2 years or 5 years, when a lot more damage is done, and try to, like, you know, put another umpteen amount of thousands of dollars into trying to fight. I don't want to fight. And that's the part of me that just almost wants to accept defeat and accept that this is part of the dynamic of abuse. If there was a way for me to get into some kind of advocacy, I would just I have a dream of, I want to be a professional singer. I have songs to write. I have poems that I write. They come to me, I would say, almost effortlessly. Not that I think that I'm so great, but I have songs to write. There are songs in me that need to come out. I want to help people. I want to raise awareness. This sucks so fucking bad. And 2 years ago, when I left him, he refused to even move out of the house. Like, there's been so much control over me. And my mindset back then, I was so worn down and weary. I mean, I cried at the drop of a dime. I was so, and not because, like, there was something wrong with me per se, like a mental illness, but more like trauma, and there's just only but so much that anybody can take. And so under, like, just horrible circumstances for so many years, you just find, like,
coping mechanisms, trauma related, you just kind of like, your life might seem like one day bleeds into the next, and you don't have a lot of, you certainly don't have a lot of motivation to like maybe get out and do fun things or even go for a walk, and you start putting on weight, and you definitely become more like depressed and don't have like a zest for life. I have a zest for life now. I found myself again. I let go of all the bullshit. I'm not a Christian. I don't believe the Bible. I follow my intuition. There's so many good things that have happened in the last couple of years, and part of me feels like even if I don't have any of my kids ever have custody of them, that I can make the best of the situation by being the parent who, not necessarily the Disneyland parent, but the one who has visitation, and the one who can just keep loving on herself and go to the beach and go for walks and not be and get a job, and therefore hopefully have a job I don't hate, and be around other adults and have some friends, maybe after all these years of not being allowed to have friends. And I can try to look for like the glimmer of hope in the bright side, but it's like it's just so painful to think about the children being more and more turned against me, and to know also that their dad rages and their dad is unhealthy, and their dad is an abuser, but it's like it doesn't matter. And I feel like there's such a double standard in even what we would need to prove. Like for me to come back around after I get financially on my feet, after being a stay-at-home mom, like I'm being penalized for taking care of everyone else. It's well, it's just like, how is this the reality? How? It's like nobody cares. It really is. It's like nobody cares. The retired judge was very impatient, cutting me off, closing up his notes as I was in the middle of explaining my side. And then the lawyer makes, and what her lifestyle is compared to mine. And I don't desire to be rich or anything, but I just want justice. And I just feel like, unless you're rich, you don't really get justice through the justice system. And maybe even then you don't. I don't know that you get justice through the justice system. But I think there are in other countries, maybe in Europe and stuff, but I think there are in other places, like with health insurance as well, where if you can't really afford a lawyer or health insurance, that there is something built into the system, to the community, like to the government at large, so that you can still, I feel like there should be a lawyer that I could obtain for free, but maybe they would just be shit and it wouldn't help. I mean, I know if I was, criminally accused of something, I would be appointed a free lawyer, but I don't know. It's like my heart feels like a boiled egg breaking. It's like it's I don't want to say I'm hard-hearted, but I've been through enough shit that it's like I'm not completely just crushed, but I'm very aware of the injustice that is happening. And this happens all the time. And this happens to a lot of people. Which might make somebody say, well then, just accept it. You're not special. Like, this is what happens. But it's fucked up. There's a power dynamic, an unequal, imbalanced power dynamic between men and women. It's like we're living in the Middle Ages still. It's like there's still chastity belts and just the kind of stuff that we would roll our eyes at. Like, there still is that in our culture. I would have to prove that I have enough money and somewhere to live and all of this stuff to be able to get my kids back. But I haven't worked. I've worked. I just haven't worked outside of the home, except for my soap business. He didn't work outside of the home for the last 12 years, but because he has a military retirement, it's all good. And he's been saving all this time, the last 2 years, and it's just, I know I'm repeating myself, which means I just need to be done. I'm upset, and it's like, at the same time, it's like, what are the answers? I didn't sign it. We were there all day. I was supposed to be signing it, and they kept changing everything. We agreed when the retired judge was still there. Then he left, and we're there for hours, and my lawyer's typing up, the 28 pages, and, we're separate in different rooms, and we're going through the document to sign, and they're making edits, and the edits keep being in their favor and not in mine, which of course is the way it goes, right? But the retired judge is long gone, and I just keep having to take take the, you know, the negative impact of the edits. And when I try to fight and hold my ground, it's like they're not willing. And so I got a call from the domestic abuse shelter that I had gone to recently, later this afternoon, like around 4, and first I declined the call, and then I just went ahead and called them back and stepped out. Excuse me. Because I'm like, well, maybe they're calling at this time because like I'm getting ready to pretty much sign everything away and get very little and be screwed over, and I don't feel good about it. And there's a lawyer from there that's supposed to be calling me sometime today or tomorrow, but I've actually been waiting about 3 days and haven't heard from the lawyer. I just know that they told me they wouldn't be able to represent me 2 years ago when I had gone to them before I hired a normal lawyer. And yeah, just the oppression. It's very oppressive. It's really fucked up, and it's super hard to even understand how all of this happened. And it's certainly not the happy, flowery, happy ending that I had like banked on. If I would just submit to this hard man and love him and forgive him when he had affairs and all of that was, oh my gosh, just some of the worst stuff in the world to ever deal with. And I don't know, can I walk away and just take this meager amount of money and just get a job and just make some friends, go to karaoke, you know, maybe I'll be like Cinderella and, you know, I'll be discovered as, you know, a good enough singer to make a living, and like Adele or something, and I'll become famous, and who knows, not that I'm all about being famous, but who knows, like, part of me thinks maybe, you know, maybe God has songs you're supposed to write, or poems, or books, or something you're supposed to do for the benefit of more people than just your children, and so you're needed for a greater purpose than just to be a mom, and this is freeing you up for some of that. I don't know, like, I don't really know. I'm dreamy, I'm definitely a visionary, and I'm definitely dreamy, and I can wonder, but, I mean, I have a just turned 5-year-old, like, when he's scared at night,